This episode of This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty is brought to you by Schnitzer's Bakery. People take buses to get our rye. Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty. This is episode 21. In this episode, we have our first official guest, Mr. Al Dukes. You may know him as the executive producer of the Boomer and Geo show on WFAN in New York, sports radio. Previous to that, it was the Boomer and Carton show. He's also an avid Seinfeld fan, and he was a great guest. We want to thank him for joining us. And check us out on Twitter at This Thirsty. Check out all our other episodes. We go through every Seinfeld episode. We rank them. Check out our previous 20 episodes if you like what you're hearing, and pass it on to somebody else, please. And we're also on YouTube now as well, so you can check us out on YouTube. Just go to YouTube to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty. Thanks for listening and enjoy. This is episode 21 of This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty. Al Dukes. All right, we could just do audio. Hello, Al.
Oh, you want to do video? Hi.
It's totally up to you. It's totally up to you. We were letting.
Hold on.
We're showing our face out. We didn't want you to think we're psychos.
Yeah, we want you to know that we're just normal guys. That's all.
All right, fair enough. Let me see how I do.
We've never shown our video on our previous 20 episodes. This is the first. We're doing it just for you.
Oh, all right. Let me see if I can get in there. Can you see me now or not yet?
Yeah. We're good.
Okay, good.
We're good. Thanks for joining, man.
Some of this
really,
out of well, listen, this is a quality topic. I always tell people that want to start up, like people always, they will reach out to me and ask about starting a podcast and all that stuff. And I'm like, it can't just be you and your friend hanging out. It's got to be, unless people know you from somewhere else, it's got to be something specific. So I think this is a great idea for a podcast doing, things about Seinfeld. It's very specific. So if somebody searches Seinfeld on podcast, they'll find you guys, I would think, right?
We hope. Yeah, that's what you're here for. Give us a little bit of a bump. We got about 5 people listening right now. So
Jerry and I discussed it on the podcast today. I told him I was going to be a guest on the show.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Very cool.
We used your name, and it was all, or the podcast name, so it was all good. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Was that in the 5 o'clock hour? I listened. I didn't, unless I missed it.
No. It was in our podcast that we do afterwards.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, this podcast Making Me Thirsty, episode 21, and we told you we'd get our guest, and we got a guest, fellas. I'll let O'Hara introduce.
So today we're very happy to welcome Al Dukes, the executive producer of the Boomer and Carton / now Geo show for 13 years, right now, Al?
That's right, very long time.
Yeah, and most recently, he just mentioned he does a podcast with Jerry and the morning show from 5 to 6, which is a great show because it really doesn't get into sports as much, which is great.
Right.
Al is a 1992 graduate of Keene University, and the reason I bring that up is it's 1992, which as we bring it back to Seinfeld, that wrapped up season 4 for Seinfeld, right?
Right.
So, and here's my thought on the demo wheelhouse of Jerry fans. Al, you're 50, just turned 50?
I just turned 51.
51, okay. And so I relate everything to my family. A family of 6. I have a sister who's 51, down to a sister who's 38. Now, I think the demo wheelhouse for Seinfeld is 1973 to 1982. I base that on my brother being born in 1973. He got me in. So my 2 oldest siblings who are 50 and above, not big Seinfeld fans. So really curious, when you got into it. So, and if you think about the show, my guess is I could be totally wrong here. There's no science here. Eddie Schizzeri is probably not that into Seinfeld, and neither is Geo, but you are.
Yes.
Fair?
I think Geo might be. Eddie, no idea. Doesn't get any Seinfeld references that I do on the air. Jerry watched sometimes. But yeah, and I think Geo probably watched, but I don't know that he was like hardcore locked in on it.
Right. So, did you have friends that were into it since?
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when I first started college, first was graduating high school, is when we got VCRs. Those were cool things to have, and I wanted something to tape. So every night I would tape the Letterman show, and I loved the David Letterman show when it was on NBC at 12:30 at night. And I got so much from that show, musical acts that I'd never heard of, which people that I still listen to today, stand-up comedians that would come on. And that's where I first saw Seinfeld. So I was really into Seinfeld from his Letterman appearances. So when I heard he was getting a show, I started right from the get-go. When it was, I think, just 4 episodes, and I was hoping for a renewal, because I didn't feel like there was anything at that time sitcom-wise that I was into. So I was locked in on Seinfeld from day one of the sitcom.
So 1989. Yeah, I mean, your other options were like Alf at that point, I think.
Yeah, which I was a big Alice fan, One Day at a Time, that sort of thing. Alf was big back then as well.
Yeah.
So I did watch those things, but this felt like a show that was more, as they described wanting the show to be, as Larry and Jerry did, of 2 guys kind of hanging out, what their relationship is and the weird things they talk about. It was a show about that, which everyone, they say a show about nothing, but everyone can relate to it. And because everyone thinks that's them and their friends,
Yeah.
I think that was what the success of the show was.
And you said day one you were hooked, so there wasn't a specific episode that
No.
put you over the top. Okay.
No.
What so we on this podcast we've gone through every single episode in all our previous episodes, episode by episode, and we
I
in the
saw
last
that. I went
Oh,
through
you
your
did?
I
nice.
went through your show topics. I was
Yeah,
like, wow,
yeah.
you're really breaking it down.
Yeah, we broke that every episode, and then we ranked them. And so,
Right.
we pretty much agreed on our top 5 for the most part. The phone message, the red dot, the limo, the alternate side, the contest. And our bottom 5, we were very similar. The junk mail, the Frogger, the Millennium, the Susie, the dealership. We basically, our favorite seasons are really 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then, we weren't obviously too keen on 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Just curious, where your sort of favorite episodes are, maybe your favorite seasons, anything kind of sticks out to you?
Well, the first episode that was my favorite for a long time was the Chinese restaurant. I remember watching that with my sister, and she was just having a great time with when the maitre d' is calling for Cartwright and he doesn't think it's him. It was really just the thing of them waiting for a table in real time, which I thought was very interesting. But for me, my all-time favorite episode is the Kenny Rogers roaster episode.
Really?
Whoa, this is controversial. Hold on.
And here's the interesting thing about it. So when Larry David, I love Larry David. Right. So I know there were some seasons post Larry David where I was like, those are probably the garbage episodes. And yet one of those episodes is the Kenny Rogers roaster. Yeah. I just love the way they did the Jerry and Kramer reversing personalities, and him coming in and doing, I'm on no sleep. Kramer reacting to that red light. I mean, it was just tremendous.
It's fair.
Me and my friends.
Yeah.
Me and my friends would go around saying, "Oh, that's not going to be good for anybody." When different things would come up in life. So I don't know. That one just really has always stuck with me.
Well, it's funny. We just referenced that episode before you got on, Al, because that's where Jerry bumps into his college friend who blows off the meeting to go eat with Jerry. And I literally just blew off a meeting at work to do this.
Yeah, so Howard blew off a meeting for this call we're having now.
And that's not going to be good for anybody.
That's season 7, yeah.
That's season 7. So you're still talking, Larry David's still there, right? But Sharon's isn't directing. But here's the thing. Wait, was Larry David there in season 7? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, was he?
He was there in 7. 8 and 9, he was gone. So he was still there. I do agree the switching places was great. But you mentioned that's not going to be for anybody as one of your lines you reuse. So that's one of the things we talk about all the time is reusing lines. You also mentioned Cartwright. I use Cartwright as my password for many things. I probably shouldn't say that on air, but I do. Cartwright, we all have our lines we use. Any others besides, the one you just used from the Kenny Rogers?
Anytime anybody mentions somebody being bald, I go, I was bald.
Great one with the toupee. Love it.
I do that one all the time.
He was bald.
Yeah, I don't know. That one I'm always doing. I can't remember any off the top of my head. The other ones.
Yeah, we have a lot of just subtle. You're not Penske material. a lot are tied to George. Well, actually, a lot of them are tied to all of them. I mean,
See, I prefer to do them to people that don't know what I'm saying, but other people do. So I love to do it on the warm-up show with Jerry because he doesn't, for the most part, know the references, but I'll get tweets sent to me about, oh, I got the Seinfeld reference you just did.
That's awesome.
exactly. I think, I kind of use it in the same context, and depending who you're talking to, which is shocking. I thought, Jerry's a Jersey native. He's in that 45 to 50 range.
Yeah.
It's interesting how he didn't, I guess, succumb to Jerry as much as people like we do. Another interesting piece, we mentioned like Stern, you mentioned music, Springsteen, and again, I have no science behind this either, but like Seinfeld, Springsteen, and Stern, I don't know what the correlation there is. Al, do you have any take on that, on why?
Well, I think
all fans are fans of that. Is it just the Northeast thing, or?
Well, I think Howard Stern was at his peak when Seinfeld was probably at their peak as well. So I think probably in this area, if you liked, although one was more kind of in your face and one was more subtle, Seinfeld being the subtle one, of course. So I don't know. I just think that era for me, it was like Stern, Letterman, Seinfeld. No matter, like those were my three guys that I was into. No matter what they did, I was involved. I was on board. Book, I got the book, videos, whatever it was.
So you mentioned we were doing some research too before you came on. We saw an interview with you on YouTube with Gina, and you had brought up the thing about the niche, having a niche, and not being just two clowns talking. And we got that, and we're trying to get more people listening. Now we got you on. But one of the other things you brought up on that interview was when Jerry called into the show. I guess Carton was bashing him or something. He called in. Was that the first time he called in? And does you know, when he was calling in, is there any like tidbits that you can share, like on the record? That I don't know, like how close, how did he become a fan of the show? We're just interested in that kind of. Jerry,
I think he's just a sports. He loves the Mets, so I think he just listened to sports talk. And over the years, when Craig was making fun of the marriage ref, the show Jerry did out there, it was like killing him for it. So Jerry's PR guy had emailed me and said, "Hey, Jerry's a fan of the show. He heard you guys bashing the marriage ref. He wants to come on and defend it."
Okay.
So that time I knew. That time I knew it was happening. So we put him on, and then it had been probably 2 years or so. And Craig brought up something else about Seinfeld. And he goes, "Al, call Seinfeld." I go, "Jerry, if you're listening, give us a call." And he called.
Oh, wow.
So that was awesome too. And then he also one time sent Craig, I think it was like an Abbott and Costello CD or something. And he wrote Craig this note about how, I think you would enjoy this CD. You remind me a lot of these guys. He said nice things about Craig in this note where he sent them this CD, like old comedy sketches. So that was cool too. And one time when Jerry called in and he was waiting on hold, Craig used to always go, "Hello," whenever he would do that. So I don't know why. I probably was nervous, and I don't like keeping people on hold for a long time. So if we're in the middle of a break, I try to just have a conversation if I feel like they're up for a conversation. And I said, do you ever hear Craig doing that? Hello. He goes, "Oh, Craig uses that?" I go, "Yeah, he does it all the time." And he just, in a very Seinfeld way, he goes, "Oh, that sounds like a lawsuit."
Well, it's funny. So there is a WFAN connection with Jerry, right? With the schmoozer, he calls into him, and I believe he referenced you, Al. I'm making this up. It was a Time magazine article or something, right? Where
it was a USA Today article.
Right, yeah.
He was promoting comedians and cars. Yeah, and he said somebody asked him about Twitter, and he said that he liked my Twitter feed, which was shocking. I remember I was out at a bar in New York City. It was during the day, and I was getting all these follows on Twitter, and then when I was looking to see where people were from, they were from all over the country. It wasn't like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut type of people. So, and I even like searched my name, nothing came up. I searched Boomer and Carton, nothing came up. And And then he had referenced me as Al's boring tweets. He didn't say my name in the thing, but he said there's a guy who produces the sports radio show I like. He's just a regular guy with good observations at Al's boring tweets. So
Did that
was
literally
very exciting.
That made your day, huh? And I should have known. I used to work at USA Today. I should have known that was a reference. I apologize to all of
USA Today. But it was the weekend edition, which is
exactly.
The other thing was, so we, as I mentioned before, we're into seasons, 1 through 5. 6 is okay. 7 is getting there, but 8 and 9 we're always a little bit critical on. Larry David wasn't there. A lot of those episodes were duds. But O'Hara loves to bring this up here, my partner, about how Jerry likes to say we went out on top. We were number 1 in the ratings. Right. Ratings-wise, yes, you went out on top. But quality of the show-wise.
Agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want to get at. Do you agree with that?
Yeah,
that's our take.
Totally agree. I don't like any of the episodes where it was not really probable to happen. It wasn't possible to happen in real life.
It got crazy.
Right. So the one that I use as an example all the time of, the series was all about like things that would happen in your real life, right? But George becoming smart because he doesn't have sex, and Elaine becoming dumb because she has sex, totally idiotic, made no sense. Like, that's just stupid. This is not going to happen. Like, I hated that one. Even George's fiance or wife, whatever, her licking the envelopes and dying, that was stupid.
You're talking to the right guy here. That's O'Hara's got real arguments with that one.
Yeah. 20 years later, rewatching it, I put that in my bottom 5. So for the most part, and my whole thing on Elaine, once she lost the poof, she was done. George yelling, I think we're on agreement there. He just became bad. But George, seasons 2 through 5, he's, Mount Rushmore of TV characters, right?
Right.
For me, Jerry was the rock throughout. Even though I didn't like seasons 8 and 9, he was consistent. So I'd love to hear your kind of rankings of the characters. But I guess
consistency?
Yeah, so just who you relate to or who you like the most or things like that. Yeah, just on the main 4.
I think it's weird. Like, I'm uncomfortable watching like the first season or maybe 2 where George is doing a Woody Allen impression.
Right, totally Woody Allen.
Kramer's doing the dude from Taxi, right? Jim from Taxi. I didn't like those. When they found their own voices, I liked them much better. When they found their own characters, I think Kramer. I thought Jerry, of course, was most consistent. Then Kramer, I would think, because he was such an oddball. But my favorite would have to be Jerry and George. I loved that dynamic, that relationship they had.
What about?
I really related to. There was one conversation. It was in. I think I actually looked it up because I wanted to get the name of the episode right for you guys. I think it was The Engagement, right? Where George, what season was that? The Engagement. You guys seem to know right off the top of your heads.
That's 5, isn't it? No, 6.
No.
Sorry, it's 6.
6.
Yeah,
okay,
6.
So when George and Jerry are just at the diner.
It's a great scene. One of the best scenes of all time. Yeah.
Well, exactly. I would say one of the best scenes in television when they go, we're not men. Like, right. What are we doing here? I could so relate to those conversations. I'm 51. I'm not married and never been married, So I've been in those situations like George has where it's like, what am I doing here? Let's just get engaged. And then, or like the breakup happens, you go, what did I do? I did the wrong thing. What is my life? We should get back together. You get back together, and as you're walking up the steps of the apartment, you're like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm in this again. I got to get out. Right? It's so relatable. Yeah. When we're out, we want in. When we're in, we want out. That was just such George. A relatable thing to me.
I agree. That's one of the best George scenes of all time. And then you get so mad at Jerry. We had a pact because Jerry's like, "Wait, shake your head. I don't know what you're talking about." You get so mad.
It's those little moments Jerry and George had it. Even Kramer and George, right? When Kramer is going off to California, and he's talking to George about does he yearn and like.
Yeah.
It's those those moments are great. And like I said, Elaine, I feel like really once they brought, and I like Putty on other stuff, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
didn't love him in Seinfeld. Like, it was just, that's when the show, I think, started to decline, where like he was like a featured character and it was all about relationships. So listen, a lot of these 20 years rewatching this again, everything pretty much is on par with when I watched it live. The killing of Susan, watching it this time, really rubbed me the wrong way 20 years later. Do any episodes now bother you as a mature Al Dukes?
Well, rub me the wrong way differently than when they first aired.
Yeah, not that the contest is going to rub you the wrong way, but I guess there's some like politically incorrect things, which obviously they couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I love those.
Yeah.
To me, the things that, and there are so many of them, the politically incorrect things that wouldn't air today.
Oh yeah.
But they don't rub me the wrong way. In fact, I like that they aired. Not only that, they're still airing them. You'll still occasionally, not always, catch the Puerto Rican Day Parade episode. It's not banned. Like, I think it was banned for a little while, where it wasn't being rerun. It doesn't rerun at the rate the other ones run, or where George and Jerry are supposedly gay, or when Jerry. Oh, okay. Here's one that's a little strange. Is when George's mom keeps getting the Asian woman calling her phone line, and they talk mocking the Asian accent. Like, that I don't think would fly.
Donna Changstein, yeah. I thought I was getting advice from an Asian woman, not a woman from Long Island. Oh man! Speaking of Estelle, you went through the main four. We like to ask like the secondary characters, not the main four. Like, I'm a big Klompus guy. Jack Klompus, I love Frank and Estelle. Obviously, I count them as secondary. O'Hara mentioned Putty. Some of your secondary characters that steal the scene, sort of like we always loved. Bookman in The Library Cop was always a fantastic one. Elaine's dad in The Jacket is one of my favorites of all time. Oh yeah,
very intimidating. Man.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have any like secondary characters that sort of stuck out. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, the strange thing with the secondary characters is it has ruined them for any other acting job they do beyond that. Bookman is always Bookman, and it will break that fantasy of you're watching a TV show where the guy who played Bookman is now like a cop on a real drama, and I'm looking up and go, that's Bookman.
Right. I guess you can't get nothing. Probably,
yeah,
right? I don't
like Banya. Like I did like Banya. as a secondary character. Although I don't know how long, like, was he around on a lot of episodes? He probably wasn't on
He was in 9 or 8. I looked him up. We wanted to get him as a guest, so I looked him up. Actually,
I think you could get Banya.
He's a tough guy to get.
We've been trying, man. No, I haven't reached out to him yet. What do you got, O'Hara?
What is he doing?
Yeah, great question.
No,
good.
I do like the shop owner.
Wait, what shop owner?
The shop owner who had little Jerry. I like him. He was good.
The checks. Little Jerry.
The clown.
Yeah, little Jerry ran to Newman's in 30 seconds. Is that good? I don't know. So another thing on our topic, we use the term pink hat fans a lot.
Oh yeah, big on pink hats.
I feel like Guard maybe used to use this, right? It's like referencing people who like the Yankees but only know like Jeter and
they didn't suffer through like 1980 to 1996.
Oh right, yeah.
They just all of a sudden woke up and the Yanks were in the World Series in '96. They're 5 years old, wearing their pink hats.
Right. So that exists for Seinfeld as well, right? Like the yada yada fans and Festivus, like those fans bother me beyond belief. Like ranking yada yada, I couldn't even put it in the top 100 just because of that fact. Even though when we broke down the episode, it actually wasn't that bad, but the yada yada piece was like, to me, nauseating. Yeah. What are your thoughts on those like later years where it was just gimmicky in our opinion?
Festivus, I have no use for. I don't, and every year, whenever it is,
fair enough. O'Hara likes that one.
I get people on Twitter, Al, it's Festivus time to air your grievance. I'm like, get lost. Stop Festivus, stop, spare a square whenever there's a reference to the toilet, to the, in a bathroom where we were out of, there was not a lot of paper in there. I need someone to spare a square. That I hate. But Festivus more than anything.
100% agree. Square was actually a great episode.
Great episode, yes.
Right.
That's the Tony episode with the George and they go rock climbing. So you forget that when we had to rewatch all these again, the titles of the episodes kind of matter. You're like, wait a minute, Stall, which one is that? And then you realize, that's the one. And so you rewatch,
Tony.
Brought it back,
Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah.
Tony. Great episode.
Yes.
Holy cow, man! We're doing it right here on time.
And the no soup for you when you can't have something, people go no soup for you.
Yeah,
not a fan
right.
of that.
That's like seasons 7 through 9. Again, I think it was when the director, like Larry David left, yes, but Tom Chirone's. I don't know how deeply you look into directors, but like you could tell something just they went for gimmicks versus.
Yeah.
And listen. The rating, listen, these guys are cashing checks. The ratings were there. It was built in. I get it. But when a show just isn't right. And, 7 through 9, my partner here loves The Rye, which, it's a good episode, but, all-time great. No, I'm not, it's not like that. The two guys in the limo with O'Brien and Murphy. I mean.
See, I don't like that one.
The limo? Really? You don't like the limo? All right.
Don't care for that
Interesting. They're both one of our favorites.
What about it?
That was a two-parter, wasn't it?
No, you're thinking of what could you be thinking?
Hernandez was a two-parter.
Yeah, Hernandez.
Yeah, where they go,
the limo is when George.
California.
No, I know which one you're talking about. The limo is when George is picking Jerry up at the airport, and then they get the guy's limo, and they think he's a white supremacist, O'Brien Murphy, that whole thing. We like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It just that one didn't do it for me. Not a fan.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about, you can't let go. That's why
if I'm clicking around and that's on, I'm moving on.
Oh wow, that's what Howard's criteria. That's what we always talk about.
Yeah.
Will you watch it when you're flicking it through? So
right.
That's a move on. All right, that's a move on. Got it.
I'm getting a look of disgust.
Oh, I mean, everyone's got their own thing. That's our criteria. That's good you said that. Like,
listen, Limo was ranked number 2 for me all time.
Yeah, it was like 3. I think it was like 3 for me or something.
I don't know. It's just that. Listen, Al.
Yeah, 3 for me.
My confirmation name is George, for crying out loud. My mother still thinks it's because of Saint George. So, anything he does was a big deal back then. But Tippy Toe, the apartment.
Yeah.
Is the apartment? That was number 1 for me.
Full message.
That's a great
documentary. Him and Jerry together waiting for the girl. I don't know. Like those. And then him calling, leaving the messages. Like. And again, that's something you have control over these days, right? There's no answer machines anymore. So.
Right.
And I'm curious when Seinfeld hits Netflix next year, like, will that bring about a new demo? Like I mentioned, I don't know. Probably will. But I'm just curious about like the sitcom today. Like, will it ever come back? I know you're a big like radio guy, and you have some analysis there based on like, right? The consumer now has all the information, but like, can sitcoms come back? Can there be another Jerry?
I can't think of one that I was even into in the last 10 years, maybe more. Like I couldn't get into, but I didn't get into any of them after Jerry. Like I didn't like any of the sitcoms that starred stand-up comics that were big. Tim Allen, Ray Romano. I didn't watch any of that stuff. It all felt kind of cheesy.
Yeah, it's a little gimmicky, right?
Gimmicky.
I just had a question for you there, and it slipped out of my mind.
No, it's gone.
That's all right. No big deal. What were you just talking about? What was your question there, Howard? The sitcoms, will they come back?
Will they come back? Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because, it'll come back. It'll come back. I had it, but I lost it. It's all right. Go ahead.
It's gone.
It's gone. I don't know. What else we got? What do you think, Al?
I had one more thing I wanted to ask him, and it slipped my mind. It'll come back. So when totally lost it. It's all right.
It's
something you mentioned. Yeah, go ahead.
It is confusing when you look at the like I feel like I've seen these shows a million times, right? So there would be years on end where I'd be on TBS where I get pissed off during March Madness. I'd be like, you're putting a random game of a college I never heard of in place of the Seinfeld rerun. But to still not know which episodes go, like which storylines go with which episodes, I have no idea. Even after all of these viewings, that to know that the only ones I could really remember is like the Kenny Rogers, because that one I was locked in on. But all the other ones where it's like George is at the garage getting his car fixed with the Clark bar is the same as Elaine's toilet paper. I mean, like so many things crisscross that I have no idea that they were even in the same season and they were in the same episodes.
Yeah, rewatching it, it took a discipline, and like I said, the titles kind of screw you up sometimes.
Yeah.
But when you have, and even your favorite episodes, right? Like, I like the Hamptons season 5. Like a great line there is, Kramer saying she's got a great body, buddy. Like, if I said that, you might not know what episode that's from, right? Because it's so small and subtle, but had a big impact.
I remember. So I was going back to that interview you had on YouTube with Gina. You mentioned your was it graduate school or was it just your undergrad where you wrote your thesis on like talk radio, I believe, or radio in general?
Yeah, graduate school.
Graduate
talk
school.
Radio.
So I have a master's degree in library science actually, and I wrote my thesis on Seinfeld, and I tied it all into this whole information, and I did like a whole thing on it. But the reason why I thought of it is because I was in an archive class. And I was like, you know what, Seinfeld, the show can be its own archive. Like what Howard mentioned before with the tape, with the voice, leaving a voicemail or leaving, an answer machine. Like the first episode is, we go from answer machines to the last episode with a cell phone walk and talk. And that's when it ends. So it ends right there. So it encompasses that whole 90s era, pre-internet, really. They make a joke about it at one point in season 9, a little bit cell phone, but anyone, as a Howard brought up, when they're watching Netflix, that's what triggered me. They're going to be like, this is like when we watched I Love Lucy in the 50s to these kids. So when they start watching Seinfeld, I don't know where this is going with a question, but I just thought it was a good discussion of like, the changing of the eras and stuff.
I also think like if you're looking for younger people to watch a show on Netflix that was a series, Friends, I think is a big one that was watched by many generations. But I think my guess is that's probably was watched by younger women and younger girls. I don't see younger guys going to rewatch Seinfeld, and I don't think younger women would find it interesting because it's a very guy-oriented show. So I don't know when it goes to Netflix if it will find a new audience as much as Friends would, because I think those shows tend to find a new audience with younger women and not men.
I agree. I wish I didn't agree, but I do. I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a tough sell. I don't have faith in some of these younger generations.
Well, with all the stuff,
do you care?
No.
I mean, I'd like them to start listening to us once they start watching the show and they start searching Seinfeld, like you said. They're like, oh, there's a podcast about it, but other than that,
Are there other Seinfeld podcasts?
There might be. I think there is a couple out there, and we welcome them, we welcome them.
Actually, you know what? There is, because I searched Seinfeld podcast like maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is going to be perfect. Like they break it down every episode. It was unlistenable.
Really?
I just couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not. The guys were boring.
Okay. Fair
Unlike
enough.
you two, very exciting.
Oh man. Well, listen, Al. Tony. I don't know how much more you have, but we appreciate.
No, I'm good. I mean, we got a half hour out of
Tony.
it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Let me ask you something quick, then. Let me ask you something quick.
Yeah.
So, are you guys Curb Your Enthusiasm fans?
Yes.
Yes.
As much?
No.
No.
Let me ask
We
you
will
this.
both answer that without even knowing. That was kind of weird, actually.
Do you think that the reason we're not all as hooked into Curb is that it wasn't on TV constantly in reruns?
Maybe yes, there's something to that. It also staggered itself. He would take years off and then come back.
Yeah, but I think there's something to clicking around and something being
PIX.
on television.
That's where we got into it. PIX 11 o'clock. That's our first episode. We go into how PIX 11 o'clock, 11:30, 7 o'clock. It was 4 times a day. I mean, it was like, there's something to that, I think.
And there's something also to the randomness of, like, they didn't do the episodes in order, right? So there was something to clicking on and going, oh, it's the Chinese restaurant. I'm gonna watch this.
We used to go. We talked about this our first episode. We were in the same study hall, first period study hall in ninth grade. It's all we would talk about is what was on 11 o'clock. Oh, it was the one we never saw before. We saw only once, and now we saw it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Did you guys watch when the DVDs came out? Did you guys watch all the extras, like the interviews and things?
I got the DVD box set. I have this here for reference.
Nice.
It's the coffee table book that comes with the DVD box. I didn't know what you were going to ask us. I'm ready to go here, man. I got things lined up.
Well, listen, I used to tell people we put it on in bars. I would laugh at it in mute. You know, I could enjoy the episode at a bar because we know what they're saying half the time. But the Curb piece, I don't think Curb is great. I just can't put it on the Seinfeld level, like the impact it had on me. And maybe that's because, like Lorne Michaels says, right, with Saturday Night Live, like Saturday Night Live is most impactful for people that are in your high school years, right?
Yeah,
those are like formative comedy years. Like you mentioned Stern 92, I agree. Like even Mike and the Mad Dog 92, all that's like those years were just like incredible. And I think Curb's great show. I can't put it on that level.
The other problem with Curb always was it followed such a formula, right? So Larry would have a run-in with some dude in the beginning of the show, and then at the end of the show, that guy would determine Larry's fate with something, right? So it's like Larry runs into a guy who won't let him, doesn't give him the wave after letting him in traffic, and then that guy determines whether Larry, gets a home mortgage or something stupid, It just became such a formula that you knew in the beginning when Larry would have a run-in with somebody, that guy's going to come back to bite him in the ass at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I agree. It got a little stale-ish in that respect. It wasn't, and because there's no script, it's hit or miss on how well they connect on their improv, kind of yelling at each other stuff. How much can you hear Susie call him something? It's just like, I don't know, but George, quintessential George, seasons 3 through 5, 6. That's Larry David anyway, right? So, and it's the best to me, that George.
What do you guys?
It's not like you're referencing Jeff, like you're referencing these other secondary characters on Seinfeld.
That's true.
Did you like the Seinfeld Reunion season of Curb?
I did, actually. I did like that, actually. I don't know what O'Hara thought. I actually liked the season finale of Seinfeld, too, which we agreed we both kind of liked that got some people didn't like it. I liked the season finale of Seinfeld. I liked the reunion on Curb. What did you think, O'Hara? I liked it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't remember, top of my head,
acting without acting, George doing. That was good. I thought it was pretty good. Jerry, the best, because Funkhauser tells that joke to Jerry. You know that when Funkhauser tells that means that's one of the greatest. I loved Funkhauser. I loved Funkhauser on Curb, so that made me laugh for sure.
I also love when somebody can play an asshole version of themselves. So like what George was doing, being this actor with the book, and then them treating him like this is a pamphlet, I thought that was great.
It was good. I agree.
Al, what are you? So since we're on TV, Seinfeld, I think, is in your top 5. Is Curb in your top 5 shows of all time?
Let me see. I'll do it. I'll do it like this. I'll go Seinfeld number 1, Letterman on NBC at 12:30 at night number 2.
I like how you stick to the 12:30 Letterman. You're
because they changed.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah.
It was like
I was a little too young for the 12:30. I only got to see the tail end of it. So, but I like that.
So I'm gonna go Seinfeld, that Letterman, Tom Green on MTV.
Wow.
I've been watching old clips. I agree. Legendary. I agree.
Better.
He's doing some crazy stuff right now. If you want to sidetrack on Tom Green, he's traveling the country in a van and videotaping it on YouTube. He's always been ahead of his time, I think. Green.
Yeah, perhaps, but that Tom Green MTV show, man, that was unbelievable. What am I at, 3?
Yeah,
3.
And Al, Dateline and those stuff don't count. So
okay, all right, I'll give you this one as a number 4. Beavis and Butthead.
Wow. Okay.
Quality. That was quality programming.
Yeah, I like it. We were talking. I've been talking about this. You remember the guy on MTV, cab driver guy, the crazy cab driver guy in those commercials? Yes. That guy was amazing too. He never got his own show, but just thinking about Beavis and Butthead, I remember those MTV.
Did not get his own show.
That guy was funny, man.
Was Beavis
That
and
might
Butthead,
be-
was that the same thing, like 92 Al around there?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
around there. Yeah, we were like
Yeah.
8th grade, I think, or 8th, 9th grade, something like that, probably.
It is weird. You're right. Like that. That's why people always love the music that they listen to in high school, right? And they always
Yeah.
think, and you always think you're not going to become one of those people that when you get older, you're going to stop liking new things. But I feel like I hung on for a long time, but now I'm back to now liking only
We're
those
two
things.
42-year-old guys doing a podcast about a show that we watched 20 years ago. So you don't have to tell us. I mean, we're sitting there doing Midlife Crisis here. Let's just record.
Oh, and I'll give you a Gary Shandling show.
Oh yeah, yes. Guy Shannon show was
original one.
legendary. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good one.
Another one. He just died, right?
Yeah,
Probably 5
previously.
years.
Yeah, probably a couple years ago. now.
His comedians in
Weeks.
cars with Jerry is good. His comedians in cars.
Oh,
with
I love
Jerry.
those.
Yeah, that was really
Some
good.
of those are so great when they really get into the discussion of. They get into some deep comedy discussions. Really good. What's funny with that show is every time, based on the guest, where I think, oh, this is going to be hilarious, sucks. And then the ones where I was like, I don't even care about this person, but I guess I'll watch it. I got nothing else to do. Those end up being the better ones, I think.
Yeah, no, that's true actually. I mean, a lot of times you're like, who the hell is this person? Jerry can
Right,
bring it
and
out of
then
him. I
it turns
think
out
that's
good.
what it
Right.
is.
It's all about expectations. And plus, I like when he's like driving around like New Jersey and I like
Yeah, you
recognize
see things.
Yes.
Yeah, I always do that. I'm like, oh, I know that. Him and Chris Rock got pulled over on 17 right by
Yes.
the Mawa Sheridan on that episode. You know what? They got pulled over right over there. That was a good one.
All right, hey Al.
Yeah.
One
Amazing.
last thing from me.
Yeah, Hara's got something.
I got banned, or I don't know, blocked from
Ooh.
WFAN. I guess when you call in, you get blocked. I guess Francesa blocked me.
You're
Anyway,
banned.
any way you can reinstate me? I'm Betty from Nyack is my code name.
The only way I could reinstate you is when I go back to work in the studio, which I'm not yet. You'd have to like send me an email and say, I'm going to call, this is my number, and then call in, you'll show up red, and then I can unblock you. It's very specific.
That's awesome.
Thanks for that inside information. Yeah.
You got it.
That's awesome. Oh
Cool.
my
Man,
gosh.
come on.
I know, right? Hey, you banned this guy. That's hilarious. Yeah, we were wondering about that. If it goes by name or by number. It sounds like it goes by number.
Yeah, it goes by number.
What
You
do you
banned.
got? Ohio? You got anything else? We were.
I'm bad now. And actually, the only time I did get through to you guys, Al, not that he remembers this, of course, I'm sure everyone says this to you, but it was with Boomer. I was supposed to tell a Kenny O'Brien story with Rich Kotite. And then this was during the Sandusky stuff. So the card kind of just went off and he had a girl on the show.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
ended up-
the Penn
I
State
ended up-
girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
legendary.
ended up being on for like 2 minutes. And I'm like, can I get to the Kenny O'Brien story? He's like, hold on. So it's pretty fun.
Oh, yeah, he destroyed that girl from Penn State radio.
Yeah, that
Right.
was bad. That was bad. I mean, it was good. That was bad.
I played a little part. So there's our small connection.
I like it.
But Al, we appreciate all the
We
time.
can't
you get.
thank you enough, man. This
You
was
got it.
awesome. This was so amazing. I appreciate it.
You
We're
got
looking
it.
for the Al Dukes bump after this on all the socials.
Oh, absolutely. You got it.
Thank you so much, Al. This was awesome.
All right, just send this to me when you
Upload it?
Just tag me in it. I'll see it
Okay.
if you put it out on Twitter.
Thank you so much, man.
You got it.
This was awesome.
See ya.
We'll see you.
Bye.